Quick sound check. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Am I audible? Good evening, everyone. Am I audible? Okay. Give me a couple of minutes before we start. So, what we are going to do today is run through the market profile chart of what happened this week in all the index, which is Nifty, Bank Nifty, Fin Nifty, and Midcap, and accordingly look for some setups in options which we could have taken. So, just give me a minute more before we can start. Okay, guys. So we have the market profile chart of Nifty on screen. This is the Nifty futures. And before we start with what happened this week, let us see how we closed the previous week. So the previous week was where we hit this lows of 21,600 on the 14th, and we left this AP rate buying tail. From then on, we made a good big trending move higher. First on the 14th, where we hit the 21945, and then on the 15th, we made another range extension higher where we hit the 22022. So the close of the week, because of this 2-day imbalance, the last Friday closed in a balance. So this was the indication that the imbalance may give way to a balance for this coming week. And this was discussed in our room also. Shai told this us on Monday as we started that we can look for a two-way move, and we can look for a balance to form in this current week. So on the 19th, I'll start with the 19th and see how the market profile chart was guiding us. So we'll take just the 19th profile so that we can take it day by day and then see what were the trades we could do on this day. So the open on Monday this week was a higher open. We opened above this nice value of Friday, but we did not get any demand. And hence we made a swipe down. We completed that 80% rule in that composite. We went on to make a low which stopped just above that small buying tail of 16th of last Friday. So this was telling us that at the open there was no demand, which is why we had to get back into previous value. And when we swiped below previous value, we left this nice B period singles. So this is as good as a initiative buying tail. Normally the A period buying tail is the more stronger one, because there you know that the buyers have come right at the open. But this was a B period buying tail, although not as important as A, but definitely it was as good a uh, demand which was coming in. So from here we went on to trend higher for most part of the day. I think the screen is on full now. Yeah. So after the B period, we went on to make the seaside extension, which we trade with a lot of caution. We don't take directional bets in that. And then we made this extension in the D period. So this was a nice place to go long for that IB setup which we have in market profile. So we look at trading double of this IB range and three times of the IB range. So here in the market profile chart, we can see this is the 2 IB of 22236. So this the market profile setup was giving us a buying tail in the IB, the initial balance, and then we made a range extension in the D. So in the D period, we got a buy setup. So I will just open an option chart of a similar date and see how the option we can trade via the option chart. So here we are at the D period was the 22160. So I'll go to the options table. Although we will not have the 22nd February's option chart, we can definitely go with this monthly expiry chart. So what I'm doing now is I'm opening the 22-100 call option, and we will see what trade it was giving us on the 19th, on the Monday, where we saw a good buy setup unveil in the market profile chart. Give me a second, guys. I'll just wait for the chart to load. So what we want to see is when the market profile gives us a setup on the index, a same setup will play out on the option chart as well. So when we are looking at going long in the market profile, we can use the call option chart to do the same using the market profile references. So the same things will hold good. Okay, what I've done now is I've opened the 22,000 call option, and I am going with the 19th of February's profile chart. So what we saw in Nifty futures is a nice B period buying tail and then an extension in the D. So we can see the same thing happening here. This option chart, the 22,000 call option, it swiped lower and it did not break this Friday's low. It took support in the buying tail. And once it made this range extension in the D period, which was at 310, this was a long setup for us to play the 2IB setup, 2IB move. So the 2IB was 366. So we go long on this. Our stop loss at the time of entry would be VWAP plus filter or this initiative buying tail. So we enter at 310 and our stop loss is at around 280 and we get a target of 366. So this is how we can use the market profile chart even to uh, trade options. And what we need to look for is, one thing is definitely we'll need to look for a buy only above previous value. That means you're looking for upside. And as you can see, we got this buy trigger above this previous value. The previous value was at 300 and we got this trigger at 310. So once we start making these higher highs, we can keep trailing the stop losses to the low of the 30-minute bar, because till the G we were making higher highs and it was in G where we hit that 2IB target. So this is definitely a profit booking point and we will book profit here. And one more thing to note here is, in market profile you can also look for objectives. So once we went above this profile, our first objective was the selling tail, A period selling tail of 8th of Feb, and then it was the 7th of Feb selling tail. We can see this HVN marked at 364, and this was coinciding with our 2IB target of the day. So definitely that was a good profit booking point. And if we see later in the day, from there we almost retraced completely down to below the entry point also. So it makes sense always to book profits once the trade is in your favor. And how to get the profit booking points on a market profile chart is this 2IB and 3IB markers. And we also have standard deviation bands, which are given in dotted lines again, where if when you see the bands expanding, you can hold on to your positions. But once you hit the band and it is stopped to expand, it means you will need to book profits. So this was the first. And I will just continue forward using the same call option chart so that we can see what trade setups came later for that week. So once we have done with this 19th profile, we can see we have left a selling tail at the top and we have left a buying tail at the bottom. So, and it has not closed at the highs. So what it was doing was, it was giving us the marker that the upside was getting capped here. And then we made an inside bar on the 20th, where we remained in previous day's range and form mostly uh, overlapping to lower value. So what this suggests in market profile is, this call option has not got any momentum on the upside now. It has started to form a balance, and the same thing applies on a profile chart also. So there was a question on Twitter about knowing when a market is in balance and when it will start imbalancing. So one of the main points about being in a balance is we form overlapping value on a daily chart. So as you can see, after this 19th profile, we formed an inside bar, and then what we did was we opened higher on the 21st. And again, we can see that we have not got any initiative buying tail here. So for us to continue higher, we need an initiative buying tail in a period or a B period, which we got on the 19th and which we got here. So when this B period defended the previous day's selling tail, buying tail, sorry, Again, we were biased on the upside, but this went on to hit this POC and stalled right there. So it was again an indication that we are forming a balance. And this higher open on 21st again was not met with any demand. So it came down, it tested this value. It again probed higher for the second time at the same level. It left another poor high, and there were two TPOs at the top. And then whatever weak longs were in place, or you can say the late longs, they got taken out in this J period move. So this was a neutral extreme, not a neutral extreme because we did not extend on the upside, but this was as good as a neutral extreme because we tried to extend higher two times and we failed and we came down lower. And what we did was we broke this singles, but we took support at this 15th of February HVN, the closing HVN of 22020. So we need to have those references of buying profiles handy. When it is a buying profile, what do you call a buying profile? Buying profile is a profile which has given you an extension on the upside and it is closed above the extension. So the VWAP of that day and the POC along with any other extension handles or these HVNs will be important levels which you take out. And this 22020 was important because we gapped above the next day. So this was obviously uh, the buyers were in uh, benefit after this gap up. So the first dip here was defended. We went on to defend this 22020 in this drop lower on 21st, and then on 22nd we had a lower open. So when I say we need to have important references of a buying profile, just see we had this big move in the IB yesterday. It was the expiry day. But what we did in the C and D was making marginal new lows. The sellers were not able to make much of an impression after the IB. So for the sellers to remain in control, the market profile chart will show you lower lows on every TPO and not just lower lows. Even in fact, the range will extend more. But what it was doing, we only have a very small range in the C and then a very small range in the D. So I think 21970 was the IBL yesterday, and we made lower lows of just 21955 and 21943. And to get back the context of the 15th of February's profile, we had this VWAP at 21944. So we stalled right at that reference and we left a small responsive buying tail. So till here, it was like we were looking for more downside because we had a uh, good initiative selling at the top, not good initiative selling because we didn't have a big tail, but we had broken below the IB and we had extended lower in the D. But then what happened, we started to form a balance, and after the F period when we took this 22040 out in the I, things changed and we knew that the auction is reversing and the auction is changing gears. So this was a very clear signal that we are headed higher because we not only went back above VWAP and immediately next TPO, the JTPO, we extended higher. So now because we failed on the downside, we will look for the upside objectives in this profile. So as I was talking about the 2IB objective, we can see this yellow dotted line, which is 2IB, which is a 222,254. So once we go along here, this will be our target, and that is where we hit and we just almost tagged these poor highs of 21st and stalled right there in yesterday's move. So although yesterday it moved higher in the second half, it was more a short covering move. And what we saw on 21st also was more a liquidation break of longs who had got stuck at the higher zone. So this entire week was more of a balance because there were no initiative players. They were players who were late and they got stuck. So the zones are marked at this point to 2270, and this was where we got demand at the VWAP of the 15th of Feb. So today's profile, after a neutral extreme, we rarely get a follow up. So the open was an open auction and we did not get two big volumes at the open, which was again an indication that nothing much is going to happen today. So entire day it remained in a narrow range. It made a seaside on both ends today. It made a high in the seaside, and then it made a low, and then it went on to make a high again in the seaside, in the D period, sorry. So it actually left a failed auction at 22239, I think, first. But then the D again got rejected and it again broke below the IBL in the I period. So although the range was narrow, today's profile is a neutral extreme profile to the downside. And if you stack the profile, you can see this is a nice balance which is formed, which has got rejection at both ends. At the downside, it is more a spike which has made new lows into the close. So this will need more acceptance uh, on the next session, which is Monday, for us to know whether this FA at the top is going to be in play or not. So if we see these 5 days, because we are talking about Nifty futures, I'm taking the weekly settlement, so which is from Friday to Thursday. So if you merge this 5 days, this is our weekly profile. This is previous week's profile, and you can see this spike was just trying to enter this previous week's profile. So what our uh, reference for the coming week would be, in case we get back into this value and we get at the open, we are leaving a selling tail, then this prominent POC here of 22110 would be our objective. It could just fill up these profile, and this will act like a magnet because it's a very prominent POC. So for that, we need a initiative tail at the open on the sell side. On the converse, if we remain above this value, if the spike we have made today is rejected and we get back into this value, we have a chance of 80% rule playing out in this and continuing to balance in today's profile before we take those highs out, those new all-time highs which we have made today, and continue further on the upside. So this is as far as the Nifty futures is concerned. So if you have any queries about what we have covered so far, I'll be happy to answer before we move on to the Bank Nifty profile. So if there are any queries, you can just put them in the text box, and I will try my best to answer them. Okay, guys, I think I'll take the questions later because I'm not able to view the text box for now. So what I'll do is I'll complete the Bank Nifty part and then I will try to take the queries once I have a list of them. So what you have on screen the Bank Nifty profile chart now, and Bank Nifty also last week we had that big move from the 14th, and we went on to cover I think 1,000 points in a single day, 1,000 plus points, and we went on to make these highs of 46445 on the 15th. So what we have done this week is we have remained above this POC, VPOC of 46326, and although we found supply in the higher zones, we have also found responsive buying coming in on dips. So these 2 days you can see the B period made buying tails, and then on the 20th we got some initiative buying which made us probe higher towards the previous highs of 47145, which we had hit on 2nd of February and made a big retracement from there, and that was because it was the trend day VWAP of a previous profile. 47125 was a trend day profile which we had covered in the previous session. So it first stacked this, started to absorb the supply here, and what we did on 21st is we made a higher open at 47,400, but this higher open did not get any demand. And even if we are just using the market profile chart, we can see here that it hardly A and B are almost same in range. It hardly left any tail, but it is although it is not a bearish sign, but it is not a bullish one also because we have not seen any demand coming in. So the only uh, way left for the auction was to probe lower or back into previous value to test how the things hold up. So that is what it did on 21st. It made a small range profile, but the probe was to the downside where it went on to test that VWAP of 28th. This was a buying side profile because we have buying extension handles and a buying tail on the 20th. So this VWAP was important, which was defended on the 21st. But what happened on the 22nd was we, as we did not see any demand coming at the higher levels, and we formed overlapping to higher value, the and at the close we had a small spike at lows. You can see this. So this spike had to get accepted in the sense we had to break below this. But and when the open we probed higher yesterday, we could not get above this VPOC. So this was the indication in market profile that the auction is not wanting to probe higher. So then what it did was it made a probe to the downside. We have this AP rate selling tail in previous value. So we know that the auction is going lower. And then we left this extension handle. We had one big seller yesterday in Bank Nifty. And I think Shai posted that on Twitter also. We had a 1,000 lot seller. So who left this extension handle here. And we continued to make a big seaside extension down and lower lows in D and E. So what we have done here again, and we have taken support at this in this A period buying tail. So this is what happens. The A period singles will mark the zone of a buyer or a seller. That will be the demand zone or the supply zone. So auction will definitely slow down there. And what the market profile chart show us, whether we are getting a responsive buying tail or whether we are getting a pullback and then we get an extension handle on the downside, will tell us what the direction is. So here we made this responsive buying tail in the A period tail of 20th. So we knew that the selling was drying up and the demand was coming back. Had we left an selling extension handle here, we could have looked for lower probes down to this VPOC of 46324. So what we did yesterday then was we got back into this initial balance, and then we went on to make a short covering move back to this high of B period, which was at 47020. So today at open, the 47020 was our reference, along with the 471170, which was our reference from the 21st of February. So in the open, we had a strong start because if you take out the C side, what we see is a period buying tail in previous value. So we went on to probe higher, but you can see the C side stalled right at that 21st February reference of 47,400. So this is where market profile very visually shows us that the upside is getting capped, and C side is known for giving us these kind of fake moves which gets retraced. So this not only retraced to VWAP today, but it went on to make new lows, and we left a FA, failed auction, at the highs today. The FA was at 47399, and we after this and after which we broke VWAP, the path was to the downside, but only thing was the C side low was had to break, which happened only in the I period. After the before that, we tried to make a probe higher above in the hedge, but we left this pullback high at 47,200. So here it was very clear that we need to look for put option trades in Bank Nifty today after the C side was done. And when we made this range extension in the I, that was the indication that we are looking for more downside. So what will be the downside objectives? It would have been the 2IB on the downside, which was at 46670. And I was talking to you about these VWAP standard deviation VWAP bands. So this is the 3 standard deviation VWAP band on the downside for today. So these are profit booking objectives where we would look to book our trades in that direction. So this now and if you see what we are doing on a daily time frame, we are just forming overlapping value. One, this value was higher, then we formed lower, and now it is higher. So although it is not overlapping per se on every day, overall the last 5 days you can see is formed a balance. So we can make a composite of these 5 days to show what Bank Nifty is giving us for the coming week. And we always need to look for the volume based value when you're looking at futures. So this is our context for the coming week, which is going to be the monthly expiry week. This value area for 466760 and value area high of 47229 will be the zone, immediate zone to watch. And we can see we have got similar highs at the top. So 47,400 is not allowing the buyers to extend higher. So that will be one key reference. And on the downside, below this value area low 46,760, we will be looking for the 280R objective from today's FA, which comes to 46,616. And then if you split this profile, we will get the other important objective, which is this VPOC, which was already there of 46,327, from where we have started to form a balance on the upside. So this is how we are placed in Bank Nifty for the coming week. We are in a balance with sellers in the zone above 47,200 and demand in the zone below 46,900. So we will need to see, but that demand today was to one extent taken out because we saw good range extensions. So the demand has come down now to 46,760, which is the value area low of the 5-day composite we have been watching. And if below that we are getting some initiative selling reference in the market profile chart, our objective will be this VPOC of 46324 in the coming week. So this is as far as the Bank Nifty is concerned. So I'll quickly move on to the Fin Nifty. And So Fin Nifty is similar in auction wise to Bank Nifty because almost all the Fin Nifty constituents are there in Bank Nifty. So most of the times the profile also makes a similar move. But yesterday's profile was a neutral extreme in Fin Nifty because Bank Nifty was not able to take out the initial balance high. But in this, it was a neutral extreme. And today we opened higher and we made this seaside extension in this index also, which stalled the upside, and we then made a uh, reversion lower. So we have an FA even in this Fin Nifty. So how we can trade these index using the market profile chart and the option chart is go to the options table, and we have all the four indexes mentioned here. So in Fin Nifty, we go to the current series and look at what the chart is showing. So here we have got a seaside extension at 2800. So what we can do is open the 20,800 put and see if we are getting any buy buying reference using the market profile chart. So this was the seaside which was made in the put. So this seaside low becomes our reference. And then we look, once we get back into this IB, we look for a probe to VWAP and the value area high. And then this is the SG band which I was talking about, and these serve as important profit booking levels. So once we take a put long trade in this particular option, I'll just open the display pad. So here we know the IBL is 127. So once we made this low of 110 and got back above 127, it was a trade on the upside with a stop loss here. So we hit the VWAP, which was the first objective, and then we uh, book the rest to the cost, which got hit in this G period lows and the H period lows. You can see this. But now in the I period, once we get back above VWAP, once we made these lows in the G below the IBL, we were not able to get back above the POC and the VWAP. So in an option chart, just like how we see in futures, this VWAP and POC become an important reference. So if I show you the volume chart also, so we can see when the I period got back above this VWAP and POC, it was again a buy with this low of H as our stop loss. So with this risk in mind, we look for the targets on the upside accordingly, and this 2SG would definitely be one profit booking point. So again, after this, we came down lower, we tested this VWAP, and then in the L, we again got back above. So the option chart can be used to take trades even in the market profile context, and you will need to just open that particular chart up and see what the setups are showing. And because overall this was a balance, that is the reason we will not look at any big moves in this. We are only looking at retracement moves inside this value. And because we had this prominent POC here, the move was going to the extreme, then coming back to the POC. So another thing in this is because we are forming value lower, we cannot hold this put for a long time. In case the next session we start forming value above this profile, then we can look for higher targets and we can be open for a bigger range. And that will again show up in market profile chart as we'll make higher highs in every TPO, and our probable objectives for that would be the previous sessions, this VWAP of 272 and this VPOC of 290. So this is how we can look at trading options using the market profile and uh, stay in the game, because we all of us, most of us trade only in options, so it serves as a very important tool. And because today we are just covering the market profile aspect, I am talking only about the market profile nuances. And if you add up the order flow, which for which we have a session tomorrow at 11:15, and Shai is going to take that. So make sure you are there for that. Combining of both the market profile and order flow will give you excellent entry and exit points. So this is all I had to talk about this, how we can use the option chart. And any day, any bias you have, you just need to go to the option table. For example, in Bank Nifty, we can just open any put option chart after this seaside. The seaside high was 47,300. So we can open the 47 put chart just to see what the setup was after the seaside extension and what could be our objectives. So I'll just split this and open up the volume profile. And here we can see this is the seaside low. And the seaside low in this is around 273. We generally don't uh, take such a deep, maybe I'll go in for 47,300 put. And just increase the TPO size so that okay. So this is our 47,200 put, and the seaside low was made at 348. So we know our IBL is at 390. So our entry back into the IBL after making this low would be our long trade. So 390 would be the entry, and the lows of today, which is 351, would be our stop loss. So the targets would be according to the risk, and we'll definitely want to make the trade safe by booking part and then trailing to the entry point. So you can see it has never not got back to the entry point at all. So if we had taken this trade and booked part, we were in the uh, game for the entire day. In fact, even at the close, if we had not uh, taken off this position, we could have closed right at this highs of 666. So this is how we can make use of the setups using the market profile and even use them in option charts. So only thing is we need to take the setup in a very right way and then accordingly book targets and trail the rest to cost so that we it is a risk free trade for us. So this is one example of how we could have traded the uh, put option in Bank Nifty. So I'll again open the flow for queries, and you can just post all your queries so that I can answer them, or Shai will definitely address them. And before we wrap up for the day. Yes, the brown bars show you the HVNs. So you can have multiple brown bars because HVN is nothing but high volume bar. So the highest volume bar would be the POC of the day. So that will be in pink. In the green band is the VWAP. So the brown band shows you where the volumes were concentrated the max. Okay, the OI spikes will will give you an indication of what is happening, because that you'll have to take in context with your setup. Only the OI spikes are not a trade in themselves, but it will tell you if you are moving higher, or for example, if it is an expiry day and you are having OI spikes in red, that means the uh, writers are covering. So that can be a good indication that OI spikes in red and the option moving higher. Neutral extreme days, we can take the example of today. Yesterday was a neutral extreme day, and today we hardly got any follow up. Follow up in the sense we don't expect a big move the next day. It does not mean that it is going to reverse, because neutral extreme days are days where one party has taken home the advantage, because one party failed, so that enables the other party to take home the advantage. So neutral extreme day is definitely an important day for the party who are able to close at the extreme. For example, yesterday in Nifty we closed at the highs, so definitely the buyers are still in control and the main trend is on the upside, and the neutral extreme VWAP becomes one swing reference for that particular uh, buyer or seller to be remain to be relevant. So not having a follow up in the sense, neutral extreme day generally has a big move. So we need to tone down our expectation for the next day, which is exactly what happened in Nifty. We made only a 118 point range day today, all day. So in that context, we didn't get any follow up. So that is the reason we don't look for big ranges. Any other queries, guys? No, we are talking only about market profile. I think we'll cover the OI aspect in another session, because that itself is a good subject, and we can cover that maybe with the option charts and what happens in probable Dukan trades which we take. So we'll have one sessions on that. So I think we've covered all the questions, and Shai has answered most of them. So with this, we will wrap to this Friday sessions up, and thank you for joining us. And tomorrow we have an order flow session at 11:15. So do join in and see how the order flow can make things work like magic, and the combination of market profile and order flow give us very good setups in live markets. So thank you for joining in, guys. I'll sign off for now and expect you to see you back again tomorrow at 11:15. Thank you. Have a nice weekend, everyone.